There is a kind of stillness that has nothing to do with the absence of noise. It exists in the middle of chaos. It remains when everything around you is moving, when voices rise, when plans collapse, when the ground beneath you shifts without warning. This stillness is not something you create, it is something you uncover. And once you know it is there, you begin to understand that most of what disturbs you is not the world itself, but the way you meet it. You have felt this before, perhaps without naming it. A moment when something should have shaken you but did not. A moment when you remained steady, not because you forced yourself to be calm, but because something deeper than effort held you in place. That steadiness is not a skill you learned, it is a quality you already possess. But it has been buried under years of reaction, under the habit of bracing yourself against everything that moves. Most of us live as if the world is something we must constantly defend ourselves against. We tense when we hear bad news. We recoil when plans change. We grip tightly to what we think should happen, and when it does not, we feel as though we have lost our footing. But there is another way. There is a way of standing in the world that does not depend on the world staying still. The Japanese have a word for this. They call it Fudōshin. It is written with 3 characters. The first means not moving. The second means motion or action. The third means heart or mind. Together they describe a mind that does not move, even when everything else does. Not a mind that is frozen. Not a mind that refuses to respond. But a mind that is so deeply rooted that it cannot be thrown off balance. Fudōshin comes from the martial traditions of old Japan, from swordsmen who understood that survival depended not on speed or strength, but on presence. A swordsman who could not be provoked, who could not be startled, who could not be thrown into panic, was a swordsman who could not be defeated. His power was not in his blade, it was in his capacity to remain clear no matter what came at him. And this clarity was not something he achieved through effort. It was something he returned to, again and again, until it became his natural state. You do not need to be a swordsman to understand this. You only need to notice how often you are moved by things that do not deserve your movement. How often your mind is pulled in one direction, then another, by thoughts that have no weight, by worries that have no form, by fears that exist only because you have given them your attention. You react before you decide to react. You tense before you know what you are tensing against. And in that reaction, you lose something. You lose your ground. Fudōshin is the refusal to be pulled. Not through resistance, not through force, but through depth. When a tree is deeply rooted, it does not fight the wind. It bends, but it does not fall. It moves, but it does not lose its place. The wind passes, the tree remains. This is not because the tree is stronger than the wind. It is because the tree is rooted in something the wind cannot touch. Your mind is the same. It can be rooted in something the world cannot touch. But first, you must stop believing that your stability depends on the world being stable. You must stop believing that you can only be calm when circumstances are calm. You must stop waiting for the noise to stop before you allow yourself to be still. The noise will not stop. The world will not slow down because you need it to. Plans will fall apart. People will disappoint you. Things you counted on will vanish without warning. And if your peace depends on these things staying in place, you will never have peace. You will spend your life bracing yourself, and you will never feel steady. Fudōshin is not about controlling the world. It is about no longer needing to. It is about finding a place inside yourself that does not change when the world changes. A place that is not touched by outcomes. A place that is not moved by circumstance. This place is not something you build. It is something you return to. And every time you return to it, it becomes easier to find. But most of us do not return. We move away. We move toward distraction, toward noise, toward speed, because we believe that if we can just manage enough, plan enough, control enough, we will finally feel secure. And so we live in a state of constant adjustment, constantly reacting, constantly trying to keep everything from falling apart. And in doing so, we forget that the very act of reacting is what throws us off balance. There is a difference between responding and reacting. A reaction is immediate. It is automatic. It is the body and mind moving before there is time to see clearly. A response is deliberate. It is chosen. It comes from a place of clarity, not panic. Fudōshin is the space between stimulus and response. It is the moment in which you see what is happening without being swept into it. It is the moment in which you choose your movement rather than being moved. This does not mean you become passive. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop being thrown. You stop allowing every shift in circumstance to pull you off your center. You stop giving your stability away to things that are temporary. And when you stop doing this, something changes. Not in the world, in you. You begin to notice that most of what you thought was urgent was not urgent. Most of what you thought required your immediate attention could have waited. Most of what you thought would destroy you if it went wrong did not destroy you. It simply happened. And you were still there, still standing, still capable, still whole. This is the discovery at the heart of Fudōshin. You are not as fragile as you have been taught to believe. You are not held together by circumstance. You are not one bad day away from collapse. You are, in fact, remarkably stable. But you will not feel this stability until you stop throwing yourself at every passing disturbance. The old masters used to say that the mind should be like water, not still water, moving water, water that is always flowing, always responding, but never clinging. Water does not fight what enters it. It does not resist, but it also does not hold on. It receives and it releases. It moves and it returns. And because it does not cling, it cannot be disturbed for long. Your mind can be the same. But first, you must stop clinging. You must stop holding on to what should have been. You must stop replaying what went wrong. You must stop rehearsing what might go wrong. You must stop building entire futures out of single moments. And when you stop doing this, you will find that your mind is already calm. It was always calm. You were just covering it with noise. Fudōshin is not something you achieve. It is something you uncover, and the way you uncover it is simple. You stop feeding the disturbance. You stop adding your voice to the noise. You stop believing that every thought that rises deserves your attention. You let it rise. You let it pass. And you stay where you are. This is not easy at first. You have spent years learning to react. You have spent years believing that your safety depends on your vigilance, that your control depends on your effort, that your peace depends on everything going the way you planned. And so when you first try to stop reacting, it feels dangerous. It feels like letting go of the wheel. It feels like falling. But you are not falling. You are landing. You are coming back to the ground you left long ago, when you first began to believe that the world was something you had to fight. And when you land, you will discover that the ground was always there. You simply forgot how to stand on it. Fudōshin is a practice, but it is not a practice of doing. It is a practice of not doing. It is the practice of noticing when you are about to be pulled and choosing not to move. It is the practice of noticing when you are about to tense and choosing to remain open. It is the practice of noticing when you are about to react and choosing to wait, just for a moment. Just long enough to see clearly. And in that moment, something shifts. You realize that you do not have to respond to everything. You realize that most of what pulls at you has no real weight. You realize that the world will keep moving whether you react or not. And when you realize this, you stop giving your energy to things that do not deserve it. You stop being moved by every wind. You stop being shaken by every shift. This does not make you cold. It does not make you indifferent. It makes you clear. It makes you present. It makes you capable of responding from a place of strength rather than fear. And when you respond from this place, everything changes. Not because the world has changed, but because you are no longer being thrown by it. There is a story told of an old monk who was sitting in meditation when a young student burst into the room, shouting that the temple was on fire. The other monks leapt to their feet, but the old monk did not move. He opened his eyes slowly, looked at the student and said, "Is the fire in this room?" The student said no. The monk said, "Then there is no need to move yet." He did not ignore the fire. He did not pretend it was not happening. But he did not allow the news of it to throw him into panic. He responded when it was time to respond. And because he did not react, his response was clear. This is Fudōshin. Not the absence of action, but the refusal to be moved before it is time to move. The refusal to be shaken before you have seen what is actually happening. The refusal to give your clarity away to fear, to haste, to the belief that speed is the same as strength. You do not need to live at the speed the world demands. You do not need to react at the pace of your thoughts. You do not need to be available to every disturbance. You are allowed to be slow. You are allowed to wait. You are allowed to see clearly before you move. And when you allow yourself this, you discover that most of what you thought required urgency did not. Most of what you thought would fall apart if you paused did not. It simply waited. And you were still there, still steady, still whole. Fudōshin is not about becoming unshakable through force. It is about realizing that you were never as shakeable as you believed. It is about returning to the part of you that has always been still, even when everything else was moving. It is about trusting that you do not need to control the world in order to remain steady in it. And when you trust this, when you return to this, when you stop throwing yourself at every passing disturbance, you begin to live differently. Not louder, not faster, but deeper. You begin to move through the world with a kind of quiet authority that does not announce itself, that does not need to be proven, that simply is. And people feel it. Not because you are doing anything, but because you are no longer being moved by everything. This is the way of Fudōshin. Not a way of avoiding the world, but a way of standing in it without being thrown. Not a way of refusing to move, but a way of moving only when it is time, and from a place that cannot be shaken. And once you find this place, once you return to it again and again, you realize that it was never far away. It was always here. You simply forgot where to look. So the next time you feel yourself being pulled, stop. Just for a moment. Notice the pull. Notice the urge to react. And instead of moving, ask yourself, does this deserve my movement? Does this deserve my stability? Does this deserve the ground I stand on? And if the answer is no, then do not move. Stay where you are, let the disturbance pass, and notice that you are still here, still steady, still whole. This is Fudōshin. This is the mind that cannot be shaken, and it has been yours all along.